Welcome to the Aligned Womb, Aligned You podcast. My name's Kate Nguy and I, and I am your host. I truly hope that this experience in this podcast is one that will help you lean into the language of your menstrual cycle so that you can align, awaken, and activate your womb wisdom to live your most inspired life. I am so excited to dive into this information and to show you a new way to connect with your body. So let's jump in and get into this first episode of the Aligned Womb, Aligned You. Welcome to the very first episode of Aligned Womb, Aligned You. I am so excited that you're here on this journey with me. This podcast has been something that has been in my heart's desire for a few years now. And like most of us, there's been my little hiccups of getting in my own way, not knowing if I had enough resources to do this, or if I had enough wisdom to provide to people, or if anyone would want to listen to this. My own stuff, which I think as many women, we struggle with that imposter syndrome or that not enoughness. But I've decided enough's enough. I'm going to go onto that ledge and I'm going to do the big jump and join you here and hopefully help to inspire you to see your body and to see this new way of thinking as an opportunity to live more connected to ourselves and to really feel empowered by the wisdom of our body. So for myself, I began this journey, I've been doing cyclical work for probably about 5 to 6 years, but my journey really began before that. My journey began back in 2012 when my husband and I went through infertility. And don't worry, this podcast is not all about fertility. We will be diving into fertility every now and then, but it really is what kickstarted me to learn about my body. Before I went through my stint of infertility, I just really didn't understand my body. I knew that I had a cycle. I knew that I bled once a month. I hated it. I couldn't wait until the day I never had to bleed again, because that seemed like the magical cure to all my discomfort in life. And I really didn't understand more than that. You know, when we started to actively try to conceive, then of course I started to learn about ovulation and understanding ovulation, but even then it was understanding it with external measures, with ovulation kits and with pregnancy tests. I really didn't understand that my body was always talking to me. And then my husband and I hit a roadblock. We went through multiple ectopic pregnancies, and we hit a point where the medical world, the Western medical world, told me that I would never have kids. At least not on my own, that the only way for me to ever achieve pregnancy and maintain a pregnancy would be for me to go through IVF and to remove my fallopian tubes. I already had one removed, but the other one I still had remaining in me. And I remember walking out that day going, there's got to be more. There's got to be more that's happening to my body. Why is this happening, first of all? Like, where is there the imbalance? And what am I missing? Like, I don't even understand my body. I don't even understand what they're telling me. And so I walked away from that appointment and I went hardcore in trying to figure out how I could heal my body naturally, exploring many different alternative therapies and practices. It was my first time ever really getting into understanding ancient wisdom and understanding that there was this whole form of medicine before the medicine we know today existed. And it was awe-inspiring. And it's what led me down this journey of eventually being so curious from what I was learning and feeling within my body that I decided that I wanted to go back to school, become a yoga therapist, where I did all of my research and specialized in understanding the reproductive system. And I started off with the idea that it was going to be fertility-based. But what I learned is that when we try to optimize our fertility, we are ultimately healing our cycle. Healthy cycles means healthy fertility. And so you can't really remove one from the other. And so this journey, what started off as just, healing my body and then helping other women heal their body and to trust in their body, led me down this path of very uniquely and kind of inspiring to all these different practitioners and teachers and wisdom about the menstrual cycle, which now to this day has impacted and is what I live by. So I'm no longer trying to get pregnant. I've built my family. I have 3 beautiful children. I healed my fallopian tube, and I didn't have to get it removed. And I went on to build my family. And now I carry this wisdom that I've learned that helped me get to the point that I'm at. And I still carry it into my everyday living. It is so important for me to align to my cycle daily so that I really can live my life. And I want to emphasize that, the live part. Because before that, I wasn't really living my life. I was living a construct of my life that, society has kind of built into our heads that this is the way that as you get older, you have to exist. You have to work 9 to 5. You have to hustle all the time. That, health is an external thing. It's not an internal thing. So many different aspects. But what really taught me was that all this wisdom lies in my body. And the really cool thing, and this has been a nugget that I've carried with me since I started doing my research many, many years ago now, was, and I don't even remember where I read it, but I've read it actually multiple times with different authors. And it was that our menstrual cycle is so powerful and so potent. And it is believed to be one of the reasons that women live longer than men. So let's just hold up and take that in again. Our menstrual cycle as women is what makes us live longer than men. Why is this? Well, this is because our menstrual cycle is designed to have a monthly cleansing, a monthly reset. And when we can really tap into this, when we can go and stop and pause and see the cyclical behavior that's happening month and month after each other, we start to see that this rhythm, if we live within it, that we actually create more balance and harmony versus when we try to live linear, when we try to have a start and a finish. It doesn't really work for our cycle and it doesn't really work for our body. So it's really cool that our menstrual cycle, and this is something that is now, really being researched and is something that is being a focus for Western medicine, is that our menstrual cycle is our 5th vital sign. Isn't that insane that as much as all our other vital signs are important, our menstrual cycle is also important? Because our menstrual cycle, the quality of our bleed, the pain that we experience, the clots, the amount, the duration, when it happens, all of this plays into what is going on internally in our body. And now we have all these amazing cycle teachers out there who are teaching women how to track their cycle so that they can start to see where there is a disruption in the pattern. And then when we have an issue with our health or our wellness, we can take this information to our physician, to our other holistic practitioners that we're working with, and they can use that information to help establish what might be going on in the body and create vitality and wellness. So this just blows my mind that the cycle, the menstrual cycle, is so deeply important, but yet it's something that we just do not talk about in the world. It is something that we, have been taught to hide from, to feel shame from, but it's not something that we embrace. And so my objective with this podcast is to really take you on a journey where we can break some of that shame, where we can rewrite our understanding of the cycle, and we can start to live in alignment with it. We can start using it as a tool so that way we can really guide our life in a way that feels inspiring. And now this is work that I have done to, help heal and really amplify and live in such joy in my marriage. It is what I use for my parenting. It is what I use for my self-care. It's really, my cycle is something that I use in every aspect of my life. Because when I tap into the wisdom of my cycle, and when I live in alignment with the shifting energy of the 4 different parts of our cycle, I call them seasons, and we're going to get into that in the next episode. But when we really allow ourselves to shift and move and change and come back, we create this opportunity of just feeling contentment, which is such a beautiful feeling. And I really hope that all of us get to achieve that on this journey together. So I like to call myself a womb revivalist. What the heck is a womb revivalist? Well, I believe that a womb revivalist is somebody who helps women connect to their cycle, to their womb, to their hormones, and to start to shift how they feel about it, how to shift how they're seeing their cycle, and reframe the thinking in a way that really feels like it's nourishment, feels like it is a tool to help us dive deeper so that we can begin to be our own healer, so that we can begin to create our own balance within our cycle, and hopefully through that, achieve wellness, vitality, to really feel inspired in our everyday living, and to really just find joy and excitement in living. Because I think why so many of us women feel burnt out, where we feel overwhelmed, where we feel like we're constantly being tugged in so many different directions, and where we like to think that our PMS is controlling us, or that we're being taken down by our period, is really our body being out of sync with what we need. And so when we can use our cycle and feel into how we feel each day and shift our behaviors or shift our expectations and really nourish ourselves with what the body needs, we can create harmony and balance. So ultimately, we revive the womb. So a womb revivalist is just giving you those tools to help you to come back into harmony with your body and your life so that you're living your best life. That's what I want for you. Is I really want you to live your best life and to feel so deeply connected to yourself that every moment feels like a aha moment and not like a I'm being taken down by my body moment. So I know some of you, as you tune into this, well, there might be 2 categories of people tuning into this. One category might be like, I don't know about this word womb. I was told to listen to this. I'm not sure if I resonate with the word womb. I'm here to tell you that the reason why I use womb is very intentional. A lot of our ancient historical teachings around the female body and how women used to live in sync with their cycles was this honoring of this womb space, this source of creation. So our womb is where we not only can, don't have to, but can birth a child out of. It also births every creative idea we have. It also births who we are and what we are growing or thriving or shifting into being. The womb in many mythology, stories, and in ancient cultural texts talk about the cosmic womb, about this source of creation. As women, we are so deeply connected to this idea of creation, the cycle of creation. We are so linked to Mother Earth and her seasons. We are definitely linked to the lunar cycle. We are these creatures that hold so much wisdom, deep inner wisdom. And so I use the word womb not as a way to make people feel uncomfortable, but as a way for us to start to see our menstrual cycle in a different light. I also want to use womb for that second category of people that might be doubting why they're here. And that is for those people who maybe no longer bleed, Maybe you are already on the other side of menopause, or maybe you just gave birth and your cycle hasn't come back, or maybe you have really irregular cycles and you just never know what a cycle looks like for you because it's never consistent. Or maybe you've had a hysterectomy. Or maybe you have never been born with a uterus, but there's something deeply inside you that feels connected to feminine energy and connected to this idea of cyclical living, of being cyclical. And I'm here to support all of that, because when we take away this idea that the womb is only for those that bleed, we allow every woman, or every person, who identifies as female to be able to experience a new inspired way of living. Because cyclical living isn't just meant for a uterus, isn't just meant for a bleed. Cyclical living is a different approach to living our life. It is through the womb wisdom. It is through a method of womb wisdom, I guess you could call it. So you don't have to have a cycle. You don't have to have a womb to be able to enjoy, appreciate, and implement any of what we're going to explore. Although some of these topics are going to revolve around an actual bleed, I'm always going to try to add in some wisdom for those that do not have a cycle, for those of you who don't have a physical bleed or a physical uterus, because everything that is here is so important for you as well. Here is a really cool thing about the womb, is that the uterus, fallopian tubes, the ovaries, all of that jazz, those are just physical body parts. That is part of a physical buildup. Our womb space is like this energetic container that kind of surrounds those body parts. So you can have those body parts removed and that energetic container is still there. This is what makes women of any age cyclical. As long as you have, I shouldn't say as long as you, for those that are going to have an active bleed, those that have the active bleed, this wisdom gets initiated during the bleed. But for those of you who don't have a bleed or will never experience a bleed in your life, this is you intentionally calling in that you're ready to live this different way. So the womb is this energetic container, and it never goes away. It never goes away until we die. And this idea of cyclical living, this is something that we can play around with. So for those of us who maybe don't have a physical bleed, this is where we use our lunar cycle to help us deepen into the wisdom. Or perhaps this is where we use the seasons in nature of going, why do I feel different in winter versus feeling different in summer? And how would this link to a cycle? And is there different energy that exists there? And ultimately, this is what we're doing internally as well. So this is where this really cool little path is that we're going to be going on, is we're going to start to look at the menstrual cycle itself, look at our hormones, understand where their superpowers are and how we can really amp up living in alignment with those superpowers or with those areas of our cycle and what it's asking from us. And then we're going to put into the bigger picture of how can I start to use this or weave this into everyday life? How can I weave this in to the aspects that feel like are beating me down or holding me back or draining me? How can I use this idea of cyclical living to really nourish my body, to give myself time to rest and recharge, to give myself time to dream and create, to give myself time to go out into the world and implement whatever it is that I am bringing out into the world? And then how can I shift down a gear and come back into this place of just clearing up to getting things done before I go back into a rest state to honor rhythm, to honor the cycle, to come back into full balance? So this is what we're going to be doing. This is what Aligned Womb, Aligned You is all about. It's about learning how to live cyclically and not linearly, and how to use the messages of our menstrual cycle or how to align ourselves to the moon energy so that we can really get the most out of life and feel like we are being supported and that we are inspired because our tank is full and it's no longer empty. This work is truly about us bringing ancient wisdom back into the modern world for the modern woman's body and living a life that just feels amazing. So that is what this journey is all about. And this is what we're going to be exploring in this podcast. So join me in the next episode where we are going to dive in even deeper and understand these 4 different stages of our cycle. How does this apply to the seasons out in Mother Nature? How can we play with this so that we can feel balance and so we can really start to get into the cyclical rhythm? Are you excited about aligning to your cycle? If so, make sure that you subscribe to this podcast and like the episode if it really resonated with you. Until next time, remember, womb wisdom equals connection to self, which ultimately equals inspired.